Well, hello and welcome. Welcome to lesson number 12 in Module 2. This is a third grade lesson where we continue our work looking at measures. Measures of time, measures of volume, of capacity in milliliters, right? Measures in grams, measures in kilograms. And today we're looking at rounding numbers to the nearest 10. And the first thing that we want to do is become comfortable with that term, right? To round something. And in this case, we're thinking about it as a verb, right? To round. To take a number from being precise or exact and turn it into something that's not so precise, right? And to round something is to turn it into where you can say it's going to be about a certain amount, right? Where we don't have to be precise. And it makes you kind of wonder, like when can you just round something off? And one example is the weather. If you're thinking about, gosh, how do I prepare for outside today? Am I going to need my light jacket or I'm going to need my my thick winter jacket, right? And if you had an estimate or if you had a number rounded to the nearest 10, that would help. It's very difficult to be precise because, as you know, it could be one temperature here and one temperature, 5 miles away, right? It could be different. So you say it's about 40. Well, that could be helpful, right? All right, let's do some examples. Gym class ends at 10:27. And what time is it on this clock? 10, 25, 26, 27. Oh, this is 10:27. Yeah, round to the nearest 10. Well, when we round to the nearest 10, the only possibilities are numbers that you could count when you're counting by 10, right? So counting by 10, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. On a clock, that would be about it. That's it, right? 5, 10, there's your 10. 15, 20, there's your 20. There's your 30. Well, we already got our answer. It's somewhere in between 20 and 30 when we round it off. Here's what I'd like you to think of. What's the point exactly in the middle, right between the 20 and the 30? You're probably thinking, well, it's that right there. Yeah, and that's the 25. So here's the question you can ask yourself. Is the time 10:27 bigger than the midpoint, right, the 25? If so, and it is, we round to the next highest 10. We round off to 10:30. So gym class ends at about 10:30. Okay, and there's that key word, about. So let's use that same way of thinking, that same way to approach the next problem. Measure the liquid in the beaker to the nearest 10 milliliters. Well, looking real close here, we see that it's greater than 20 and it's less than 30. If we imagined what's right in between 20 and 30, it'd be right about there. Hey, this was 20 and 30 too. Connection, right? The midpoint would be 25. So again, the test. Is the liquid, did it reach the halfway point? And the answer is no. So we know we can round to the 20, right? It's closer to the 20. There are about 20 milliliters in the beaker. Let's do a couple more. This is kind of fun. Well, I hope it's fun for you. Mr. Santos' weight is shown on the scale. Oh, I'm sorry. Mrs. Santos' weight is shown on the scale. Round her weight to the nearest 10 kilograms. So again, when you round to the nearest 10, the only choices possible are those that you would say if you're counting by 10, right? 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, and on and on. So let's take a look. It's one of those choices. Here's the 50 mark, and it's greater than 50. So what would this mark be that's labeled 0? Well, they're all going by tens, so this would have to be 60. So it's in between 50 and 60. What's the midpoint, halfway mark? 55. So is the measure halfway or greater? No, it's not. So it's less than the halfway point, so we round to the 50. Mrs. Santos's waist is... Oh, interesting, look at that. There's two sentences, and the second sentence uses the word about. That's where we put the rounded one of 50. But here, it wants the exact. So what do we have here? We've got the 50, and these little hash marks are increments of ones, so it appears to be 50 and 3, or 53. Okay, that's the exact, and that's the rounded. Looks like we're going to have the same thing here as we weigh the chimp. The zookeeper weighs a chimp. Round the chimp's weight to the nearest 10. Well, this scale, of course, is too small, so they expanded the view here. All right, so we could see real closely, and we see on the top side we have a 60. And so on the bottom side, it's not even labeled. We can't even see it. But what does it have to be? What's 10 less than 60? Got to be 50. So our answer is either going to be 50 or 60, rounded. Well, what is it exactly? We've got 55, and 1, 2, 3, 4. So we have increments of 1. And the arrow is pointing right here. So 55. 56, 57, 58. So the exact weight, the precise weight, is 58 kilograms. And the rounded, well, is 58 halfway or greater? Yes, it is. So we round it to the next 10 or 60. Okay, and those are some examples on how we're going to approach rounding today. Rounding. You were likely to see a chart that looks very much like this in your problem set. So just want to make you familiar with it. Do it, just look through it. Object, well, that's the thing that we're going to be rounding, right? The length of a desk in this case. The measurement in centimeters, 66. The object measures between which two tens? Well, like we said, 0, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 60. It's in between 60 and the next 10, 70. Okay? The length rounded to the nearest 10. Well, what's the halfway point between 60 and 70? Halfway would be 65. You don't have to write this, by the way. I just want you to see it. You could if you want to. Is it greater than the midpoint, the halfway point? Yes, it is. It's 66. So if it's greater than, equal to, or greater than, we go up to the next, which is 70. We rounded to 70 centimeters. That's the way you'll approach it. Two more are given here. Then there's blanks. The idea of the blanks, and I think you're going to see that on your problem set too, is, hey, go measure something, all right? Measure something in your house. If you don't have a centimeter measure, but you do have an inch measure, that's okay. You could do that. If you did, just make sure that you change the unit to represent whatever it is you're using. If it were inches, you can change it. The idea of rounding can happen with anything that we measure, from a glass of orange juice to the temperature, to the time, to weight, you know. It's a very handy tool that all of us use in life, especially when we don't know the exact measure, right? All right, have fun. So long for now.